A lot of people ask me what were the mistakes that I made when finding my personal style so that they can avoid those mistakes themselves. There's definitely some that I want to review with you today on ones that I would say to avoid. With that said, there is nothing wrong with playful experimentation when it comes to fashion or design or life. In life, the times when we are not afraid to fail are the times we actually are brave enough to try things, possibly regret some things along the way, and also at the end of the day understand fully what your personal style is, or whatever your solution that you're trying to figure out for your life is. So there's a really broader discussion here that we could go really deep on, but today I just want to talk through what were the mistakes that I personally made when starting over on my personal style, and the ones that I definitely made before I even ventured off into my personal style. So let's get started with the first mistake. I used to wonder why some people would be so carefully observant of which colors they can wear and which ones they can't wear. For me, I was like, why is it that people say things like, oh, orange is just not my color? And I was like, why? Like, can't I wear orange? Like, are there colors that I'm not supposed to ever wear? And so I sort of avoided all of the skin color undertones of skin sort of assessments. I found them messy and complex, not necessarily something I needed to live my life by. In a way, that was a mistake to not understand that, because when I would try on some things that like a nice gray sweater, I would think, why do I feel completely washed out in this? Like, why does it seem off? Why do I feel like my dark circles are showing up more? And that was because it's not necessarily about colors that I can't wear, that are off limits. There are undertones to each color that I should avoid, as well as other ones that I should gravitate toward. So what that means is, if there is a certain shade of pink that is cool, being that I have warm skin, I should avoid the cool version of pink and move toward a warm version of pink. I can do the same with green. So instead of moving toward a cool green, like an ivy, I can then move more toward a color that is a little bit more suited to my skin undertone, like more of a grassy green or an olive. And so knowing that without making it too complex is really great. So if you have cool or warm tones to your skin, no matter of skin color itself, there are undertones to your skin that you can then cater your wardrobe toward. And that actually makes buying decisions a little bit easier. The more you can be like, nope, nope, yes, yes. And so that's really the mistake I wish that I would have not made had I started sooner knowing my skin undertones. I have pale skin too, so it's really hard to know if I had cool or warm tones to my skin because there isn't like a lot of pigment to my skin at all. But then once I started making these small choices on, oh, I actually do have warm skin, it was much more informative to how I pick my outfits. One more note on this, if you, like me, prefer to wear neutral colors, there are versions that are cool or warm tones to each neutral color that you can opt for instead. And that has made a big difference to me. Like when I was referring to wearing gray, there are versions of grays that are warmer, like a sepia toned version of a gray that could be more suited for my skin than something that is cool, like a cool steely gray. So if you feel like neutrals don't work well on your skin undertones, then just think about it that way. It's more about which version to take it, warm or cool. The next mistake that I made before I started over on my personal style is not sticking to a color palette for my wardrobe. Now that can seem like something that is unnecessary. It also could seem like if you have fewer colors to choose from in your wardrobe, then maybe you'll have less things that match. And I think that the knee-jerk response to that or reaction is that maybe if I just add an increase of all of the different colors that are possible for me, then I will have more color combinations to choose from and more outfits. The opposite is the way to go. You want to limit your color palette so that more pieces in your wardrobe match with each other. And that was a game changer for me when I started over in my personal style, really making a signature collection to my wardrobe to start with, and then from there adding things seasonally. If I want to experiment with a pink, then that would be in springtime on sweaters and that sort of thing. So really think about it that way. A color palette is very important to have, and you get to define what that is that's best suited to your skin tone, to your lifestyle. I personally had a lot of success with just paring back colors and almost making a neutral color palette for my core closet. Because if you were to have a storefront and your closet is now your storefront, right? You would have every single item in your inventory be a black or white or brown version that then you can build upon from there. And if you really love a shirt, then explore another color option. But don't make too many color decisions that go beyond just something that would be basic and timeless, so that you don't regret those purchases later on. Of course, budget is part of the discussion when it comes to buying quality, but you should always buy the best quality that you can afford. I've had my moments in life, especially when I was in college, and then after college, I had just this mountain of like a mortgage size worth of student loan debt. I had to make very careful decisions when it came to what I bought for my clothes. Now, with that said, I started to move in this direction of, okay, I've budgeted $30 for a shirt this month. Instead of buying 3 shirts for a total of $30, I should buy a $30 shirt that I, number one, love so much more and take care of so much better. But also the seams were usually more reinforced than the 3 shirts that probably would not have lasted very long when they would create holes because the fabric was really thin. Again, the seams inside would probably start ripping. So if I could buy a shirt that would last 3 times longer, then that was worth it versus something that was like a bargain deal. I also took a lot more pride in the shirt that was more expensive. I took, better care of it for sure, but I just felt more confident wearing it. And that little luxury then turned into a lifestyle for me. And now it's been 4 years since I started over on my personal style. And now I've got an inventory of a beautiful wardrobe that I love. Each piece feels like an art piece. And also, because these items have been quality purchases, they have not torn apart on me. Like, it's very rare for something that I've bought that's quality to just fall apart at the seams. And now I've got a collection of ones that are timeless that have not broken down. Some good examples of this are a couple pieces that I'm actually wearing today. So this is a trench that I've had since 2017, and so are the pants. These pants I bought day one when I started over on my personal style, and they've been a core piece that I've had, and they really haven't worn down at all. And so I've taken pride in taking care of them well as the seams being reinforced, and the quality and the timelessness of it, the timelessness of the colors. These are all things that I considered as intentional decisions early on that I made mistakes on before I started on my personal style. So just think of quality while you're moving forward with finding your own style. Some people watch my series on how to look taller and slimmer, and they think that they can only dress by those sets of rigid rules. I don't even do that. I use those as guidelines, and then it's helpful to know that as I progress through finding my unique style. Now, how I do that is by addressing this idea of irony. If I dress in an ironic style, then I can find something that is unique to me. So what do I mean by that? Well, it comes from this idea of how writers of a play or a movie would use irony. So let's think of this like you're writing a movie. Dramatic irony is considered incongruity between a situation that's developed in a drama, like a movie, and the accompanying words or actions that's understood by the audience, but not by the characters in the play. So that's a lot, but let me explain it really quickly. Let's say that you're the writer. You and the audience both understand that there are ways to lengthen an outfit, to make yourself look taller and slimmer through little tricks of optical illusions, like wearing the same color of shoes to your skin tone if you're showing ankle, those types of little tricks. But irony is understanding that those are still true and then reassessing them with ways that are not, like kind of like battling those ideas. And how you do that is that you still keep in mind things like balance, proportion, or a color scheme where you're repeating some colors throughout an outfit. And so yes, it is helpful to wear the same color of shoes to your skin tone if you're exposing a little bit of your foot or your ankle or your leg, and that will lengthen. But if you don't, and you do this with something that's like a chunky shoe and the rest of you looks lengthened, well, that's a little bit more ironic. And so it's a really wonderful way to just explore your own personal style, because you've already learned those guidelines and rules and you're moving past them in a way that says, thank you, rules, but I also want to try this other thing. So again, you're the writer. You get to identify what is going on in this play, what the characters are wearing, and you get to define what would naturally be accustomed to wearing something that's lengthening and slimming. And those would be the traditional ways that the character would dress. But then also you get to invent what's ironic about it. What are you going to switch out? What are you going to do that moves beyond the guidelines of what should be done and then moves into who the character truly is and what would be true to their nature to wear? The audience will understand this. The audience is people who view your outfit in your day-to-day life, and they will be like, oh my gosh, I totally get that. Maybe you reinvented some things. Maybe you switched some things out, and it's so cool and unexpected. That's an ironic style. This mistake goes back to that idea that I talked about in the intro, that it's okay to have this playful experimentation with your style. I really believe in that, because if you don't allow yourself to experiment with things that would really push your uniqueness out there, then it's really hard to ever find it or feel like you love your outfits. I have an example of this. When I was trying on my wedding dress, I needed to pick out a veil. Like, check the box for the veil. And I was like, do I really want to even wear a veil? Like, I don't know about the poofs and the fluffs and the lace. Like, will it be overwhelming because I'm like 5'1"? I definitely did not even want to wear heels that day because I'm like, I am not tripping in front of everybody. So I wore these like ballet flats. Anyways, when I tried on the veil, I tried on like a little one and I'm like, nah. And just for kicks, I tried on the floor length one that then cascaded 3 feet past where my feet landed on the ground. And I loved it so much. To me, I just felt like a princess wearing this veil. And so that's why if I had never tried it, my wedding day would have not been exactly the same, and I wouldn't have felt fully myself had I not been wearing that. And that's just one example. This is true of every day when I'm exploring my outfit. You don't have to go out and buy lots of things that would then further express who you are to the world, but you can look in your own closet and find and reinvent new ways to wear things. The other day, I wore a scarf on my head underneath a fedora that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to wear. Those are ways where I've fully expressed who I am to the world, especially in that moment, in that day. And so you can experiment with things. Don't be afraid to try things on in front of the mirror. Don't be afraid to even buy some things that you probably would have thought, oh no, that's, it's not that's not me, it's just I'm scared to wear it. And so instead, try it, check the refund policy. There's probably no harm in just trying something and sending it back and just having tried that at least once to see for yourself what your personal style is and what different things that you wear will say about you, especially the intangibles of how you wear it. I am incredibly brand loyal. If I find a brand that works for me, I will return to them again and again, knowing that it's kind of a fail-safe. Like, I can try something and it just totally works, and I can rely on their sizes. With that said, if I dress head to toe in one brand, then it starts to sanitize my own personal style. My own taste is lost in the mix of what one designer chose to have for their brand. Now that's still great, but you can start to end up looking like a mannequin for the brand. Like if you were just walking past their storefront and the mannequin is dressed head to toe in that brand, well, you might start to end up looking exactly the same and you don't have any self-expression beyond that. One trick that I have is to start to find and actually search out new brands and new designers that possibly have a small following right now and just kind of enjoy their craft. And when I wear that, it feels like a treasure. It feels like I'm part of their art and obviously part of their livelihood. And that's so much more rewarding to me than only buying from a lot of the bigger name brands that a lot of people will feature, no doubt, on YouTube over and over and over again. Instead, I can find something that's unique, and you just take pride in that, I think, a lot. Then you can mix it up. Like, I might wear one brand for what I'm wearing on my head, another for my shirt, another for my pants, another for my shoes and my bag. Like, you're taking part in several different people's crafts and you're specifically defining your own taste. Now, before I would have done this, before I explored my personal style, and even in the first chapter, I would say, of finding my personal style, I was even more so brand loyal than I am now. That was more because I was just starting, you know, I was wanting to avoid regrets. That's okay for a short period of time, but it is time to move past that eventually. Also, a new way to buy from your typical brands and shops is to buy an oversized look. So if you don't want to just stick to your normal sizes that you typically buy from that brand, think of new ways to wear things, especially sweaters or outerwear, where you can upsize and then it just has this more unique look to you and you're not buying what's typical of that brand. This is another way that you can work with mistake number 5, that playful experimentation is much more fun to do sometimes, to reinvent your style and try things that you normally wouldn't, so that you don't just mindlessly buy from the same brand all the time in the same sizes. This is a way to reinvent it, and I'm just really happy to have tried these things and hopefully also given you guys a chance to find some new brands. I'm always on this scouting and on the outlook for new ones and new ways to wear them. So if you like this sort of video, if this was helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.